In my previous front lever videos, I wrote down the math equations to show that if you have big hypertrophied upper body muscles, the front lever will be easier for you. Even though the force you can generate pound for pound from your big beautiful muscles is less than the force I can generate pound for pound from my smaller lean muscles. The front lever is easier when the angle between your torso and your arms is larger. However, there are too many math deniers out there dismissing the fact that the front lever is indeed more difficult for people like me, though the equations are clearly and transparently written down. A lot of people also want to see me wear a weight vest to simulate big hypertrophied upper body muscles to see if the front lever would become easier to prove the math theory. However, there are 2 points I need to clarify about this idea. First, it is way more difficult for me wearing a 20-pound vest to do the front lever than a 150-pound guy doing the front lever. Assuming the 20-pound weight vest makes my weight distribution the same as the hypothetical 150-pound guy. Yes, the required angle will become the same, but the 20-pound weight vest is a dead weight. There are no muscle fibers in them. These 20 pounds do not generate any pulling force. And on the flip side, my small lean muscles have to work extra harder to carry these extra weights. The only benefit of the 20-pound weight vest is that it will shift the center of mass, so I can pull in a favorable larger angle, which allows my small lean muscles to generate more force. Therefore, don't equate the front lever difficulty of me wearing a 20-pound weight vest with that of a normal 150-pound guy. Second, for most common exercises, for example, pull-ups, dips, and squats, the heavier the external weight is, the more difficult they are. The front lever, however, could be an exception for people who are strong at natural pulling angles. When an external weight is placed on the upper body while we perform the front lever, it makes the front lever both easier and harder at the same time. It makes it harder because you have to pull more weight. It makes it easier because you can have a larger angle between the torso and the arms due to the shift of center of mass. In order to figure out whether there's a scenario that will make the front lever overall easier for me, I added an external weight as a variable to the equations I showed in my previous front lever video and generated a plot. I'm not going into detail to derive the equations again. It should be trivial if you understand the math in my previous front lever video. For this plot, the x-axis is the angle between my arms and torso for the full front lever, and the y-axis is the amount of body weight I need to hold. As you can see, if it's just my body weight, the required angle will be 47.673 degrees, as I've mentioned in my previous video. However, if I wear a weight vest that is 0.2 times of my body weight, the angle required will increase to around 56 degrees. As you can see, the more weight you put on, the more diminishing returns there will be in the angle you can increase. You might wonder why I draw the y-axis for less than body weight. There isn't a magical weight vest that can actually decrease your upper body weight. Yes, you're right, but you will know why in a moment. First, let me overlay this graph with the weight I can pull with the lat pull down machine at various angles. I can pull 0.4 times of my body weight at around 45 degrees, 0.9 times of my body weight at around 50 degrees, and 1.2 times of my body weight at around 55 degrees. As you can see, the red line is actually above the blue line in this region. So that means I should be able to do the full front lever if I put on a little less than 0.2 times of body weight through the weight vest to make the angle 55 degrees, right? Not so fast yet. The numbers I can pull on the lat pull down machine are actually an overly optimistic estimate. The front lever is actually the equivalent of pulling on the lat pull down machine and doing a dragon flag at the same time. Even though I can do the dragon flag without training for it, it is still far from being effortless. You might argue that the muscles for doing the lat pull down and the dragon flag are different. So why is this a problem? The muscles involved for doing the lat pull down and the dragon flag are mostly different, but not completely different. Not to mention other factors in play, such as the nervous system. As a result, the max load of doing both at the same time will absolutely be lower than that of doing each of them individually. If you still don't believe me, you can try to test your max one-arm dumbbell row and then test your max one-arm overhead press. Now do both at the same time with each arm. And I guarantee you won't be able to do it. Since there isn't a way for me to measure how much weight I can pull on the lat pull down machine while doing a dragon flag, the best thing I can do is trial and error and figure out if there's any moment when the real red line will be above the blue line. Unfortunately, I can't find it. But I really want to show the math deniers that math is a fact that you can't deny. Therefore, I decided to plot another green line to represent the situation of the straddle front lever and did my best to estimate the extra weight that would give me a chance. And this happened. Obviously, my form isn't perfect. My hips are sagging a bit, and I only hold it for 4 seconds instead of 5 seconds. But this video is not about me claiming I learned a particular skill. Instead, it's a video that demonstrates math and physics are indeed correct for the science deniers. So this is plenty enough in my book. Of course, if I take off the weight vest, I am nowhere close to doing the straddle front lever because the angle will have to be way smaller. The angle I'm at for achieving the weighted straddle front lever is around 59 degrees with a weight vest that is almost 0.2 times of my body weight. So we can roughly draw a guesstimate black line here on what would be the weight I could pull on a lat pull down machine if it were possible to do a dragon flag at the same time. In any case, now it's time to address a repeated misconception in my previous front lever video. A lot of people who haven't been able to do the front lever yet think they can skip the DEXA scan and find out their angle between the arms and torso by using a resistance band to support right underneath the bar. No, that doesn't work. The resistance band will stop you from swinging, even if your center of mass is not underneath the bar. Instead of explaining it through math equations, I will explain it in a way that you will for sure understand. First, instead of putting the resistance band underneath your waist, move all the way forward, so the resistance band will become underneath your shoulders. So now we have no doubt that your center of mass is not underneath the bar. Now imagine the support from the resistance band is actually pretty strong. You know, strong enough that it feels like a ground. Can you not swing and hold this position? Of course! Because this is literally the dragon flag. If you can't do the front lever and you want to find out your required angle, don't be cheap. Go do a DEXA scan. There is no way around it. I also want to thank again to all the strong calisthenics athletes who reach out to me, acknowledge that the front lever is indeed more difficult for my body type, and still try their best to help me overcome this disadvantage. As for all the train hard, be strong, don't be not strong math deniers, I don't know what else I can do to convince you that the front lever difficulty highly depends on different body types. It's not just about, just train harder, bro. How would you feel when you struggle to understand the math at school, and I walk up to you and say, just study harder, bro? Another thing I want to address is that not wanting to build big hypertrophy muscles is my personal choice. I don't want to mess with my diet and I still need to rock climb. Bigger upper body mass will make achieving the front lever easier, but it will make rock climbing more difficult. I have nothing against most of you who want those big beautiful muscles. But if you came and rock climbed with those big beautiful muscles and ended up struggling to hold yourself onto the wall with your fingers, how would you feel if I walk up to you and told you, just climb harder, bro? There is also another accusation that I need to address.
I really think that he is sending a pretty bad message to the impressionable young athletes that are watching his videos. Geek Climber is basically saying that if you don't think you can do something, just don't do it. And I really think that no matter what people say or whatever science even dictates, if you want to be able to achieve something, you should be able to work for it and prove everybody wrong. And I don't know if this is going to be a controversial or hot take, but the front lever is not really a very challenging skill to perform. It's really not that hard.
Whoa, are you serious? Of course we should encourage kids to be ambitious and aim for big grand things, but at the same time we should also let them understand basic science and facts to accurately assess where they are at. If you blindly encourage a short kid by saying, yeah kid, keep spending your time on basketball, you will make it to the NBA someday. In my opinion, this is what will have the real negative impact on the kid. If you are going to argue with me that if the kid knows that the science and facts are stacked against him, it will somehow affect him mentally, then it just means we should help the kid to work on his mental game instead of sugarcoating the situation. Let me drive this point home, using myself as an example. If you look around on YouTube on climbing or calisthenics back in 2017, before my channel even existed, there is not a single YouTuber that looks remotely like me. And on top of that, I have a huge language handicap. I acknowledged all the disadvantages, but did I let them affect me mentally? No! Guess what? I did the impossible and is sitting on 200k subscribers right now. On the flip side, did I dismiss the disadvantages and pretend that they didn't exist? No! I wasn't dumb enough to quit my full-time job to go all in on YouTube in the climbing and calisthenics niche. For all the kids and young athletes out there watching my videos, The Western philosophy of being ambitious, aiming high, and chasing the dream are all great. But you also need a bit of Eastern philosophy of understanding basic science and being practical at times to get the best of both worlds. Best of luck to your very bright future. Lastly, am I going to continue training for the front lever? Yes, but I'm not going to focus on it. There are still a lot more calisthenics moves that are more achievable for my body type that I haven't achieved yet. I would rather focus on those first. Thanks for watching. If you appreciate this kind of science-based content instead of the conventional train hard, be strong, don't be not strong content, definitely consider supporting my latest 5-bar venture. A lot of thought went into the formulation of 5-bar. I take the nutrient profile, the taste, and the amount of calories into consideration when creating 5-bar. I also want to thank everyone who purchased it and spread the word with their friends. Definitely check out the link in the video description below to order some 5 bars. See you in the next video.